Before we begin, please imagine the bell notification is on and you're subscribed to Huna Stories. I didn't cry at my graduation. That wasn't unusual. I've never been the kind of person who reacts on cue. I clapped when others clapped, smiled when the camera found me, hugged my parents because that's what you do when you've crossed a finish line everyone agrees matters. My mother said she was proud. My father nodded, already checking his phone. Afterward, my sister didn't come. She texted something about traffic, then posted a photo later from a cafe with friends. I didn't feel hurt. That kind of absence had been normal for years. She was always somewhere else, being taken care of by life in ways never quite understood. That evening, back in my apartment, I opened my laptop to pay bills. I always did it on the same day each month, a habit formed during my final year when my parents' finances started getting complicated. At first, it was temporary help. Then it was just the way things were. Electricity, internet, property tax installment, mortgage contribution. I didn't resent it, not actively. I told myself it was practical. I had a stipend, they had fluctuating income. I was the responsible one. Responsibility has a way of disguising itself as virtue when no one thanks you for it. The will came to me by accident, an email forwarded one step too far, a subject line that wasn't meant for my name. Legal language is sterile, which makes imbalance easier to digest. Percentages, assets, beneficiaries. My sister received the house, the savings, the land my grandfather bought decades ago. I received nothing, not even a symbolic line, not a watch, not a book, not a note acknowledging effort. At first, I assumed there was a mistake. I reread it slowly. Then again, the way you reread instructions when something goes wrong and you're sure you followed them. Later that night, I called my mother. She didn't deny it. She didn't explain it either. She said, "You're independent. Your sister needs security." That sentence landed with a dull finality, not cruel, just complete. After the call, I sat on the edge of my bed and thought about the past 5 years in small, unflattering fragments. Me picking up extra freelance work to cover just this month, me setting up autopay so they wouldn't forget deadlines, me being told I was good with money, like that was a personality trait rather than labor. I wasn't angry. That surprised me. What I felt was a kind of administrative clarity, a recognition that I had confused love with maintenance. The next morning, I canceled the auto payments, not dramatically, no speeches. I logged into each account and removed my card details. I didn't notify anyone. I didn't threaten or warn. I simply stopped doing a job I was never formally hired for. The silence afterward was almost peaceful. Weeks passed. No calls, no accusations, no sudden apologies. It confirmed something I hadn't wanted to admit. My role had been invisible. They noticed stability, not the person creating it. I focused on work. I paid my own rent. I let myself imagine a future that didn't involve buffering other people's risk. Then, near the end of the month, my phone buzzed. The mortgage is due. No greeting, no context, just urgency wrapped in assumption. I stared at the message longer than necessary. I noticed how my body didn't tense the way it used to. There was no scramble, no instinct to fix. I typed, erased, retyped. Finally, I sent a, "I'm no longer covering household expenses. You'll need to handle it directly with the bank." Death. Three dots appeared, disappeared, reappeared. "Ask mommy." What do you mean? I didn't reply right away, not to punish her, to be accurate. I wanted to respond without emotion leaking into logistics. I mean, the payments stopped last month. I assumed you'd noticed. There was a long gap after that, enough time for me to imagine them sitting at the kitchen table, paperwork spread out, the structure they relied on suddenly visible because it wasn't holding anymore. My father called. I let it ring. When I listened to the voicemail later, his voice was measured, strained. He said they were confused. That word again, as if this were an unexpected development rather than a delayed consequence. The next contact didn't come from them, it came from the bank. A polite email, neutral language, a missed payment, a deadline, options outlined clearly without sentiment. Authority has a way of stripping narratives down to facts. When my mother texted again, it was different. Mom, the bank says the account is in arrears. They want to speak to whoever was paying before. I responded with the same restrainy talk. You can tell them it was voluntary support, not a contractual obligation. That was the moment, I think, the shift, when my absence stopped being emotional and became procedural. My sister called that evening. She sounded unsettled, not angry. She asked why I hadn't said anything. I didn't think I needed permission to stop, I said. She didn't argue. She didn't apologize either. She just said she hadn't realized how much I was doing. That was the closest thing to recognition I'd ever received, and it didn't feel like victory. It felt late. In the following weeks, things adjusted. The house didn't disappear overnight. My parents negotiated. Downsize and expectations. The world didn't end. It just stopped being padded by my quiet intervention. Our conversations changed tone. Requests were framed as questions now. Sometimes they didn't ask at all. I noticed a distance forming, not hostile, just factual, a recalibration of roles. Occasionally, guilt tried to surface, not because I'd done something wrong, but because I'd done something different. We're taught that withdrawal is cruelty, even when extension was never reciprocal. On one quiet evening, I reread the will. This time, it didn't sting. It read like a document from a different era, describing a version of me who had assumed, not consulted. I closed the file. I didn't gain an inheritance. I didn't get an apology. What I gained was the ability to stop mistaking endurance for love.